Hello and welcome to Alt-ernative podcast. This is our first one of 2023. Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year, Cam.
Happy New Year.
So yeah, we just released a podcast with Jay Brett. That's the first upload we've done this year, but not our first recording this year. This is our first recording. So if you've not seen that podcast, check it out. Yeah, Jay's a VR specialist. So we talk all things VR, gaming, and a little bit about the monetary system and what would life be without money. So
yes, it was a good episode. I think on reflection of that one is we went on there to talk about VR and it sort of went into a technology talk and then went into the gaming industry and it sort of like just progressed into what's actually wrong with technology and what's wrong with gaming. So it's really good talk.
Yeah, it was good, really good. Hopefully we'll get him back on to talk a bit more about the nitty-gritty society kind of things, which we seem to get a bit into depth with it towards the end.
Yeah, we definitely do need him back on. But anyway, this episode, 2023, Maria.
Yeah. So
reflect a bit on 2022, or I've got a question that I want to put out there. It's about 2023, sort of around the channel as well. But it's something I've been thinking of just in my own time, in my personal time. But this channel's like an extension of my personal time, I guess. But my question is, like, what areas of interest do you want to pursue in 2023? So that can be like stuff that you already know about, but you want to know more about, stuff that you don't know anything about and you want to start learning, like key areas of interest.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like a big thing I think we both sort of want to understand on it. So I think we had these discussions off air or sometimes on air before our chat with Jay, but having the chat with Jay sort of perks my interest a little bit more into sort of capitalism and communism or socialism and what are the differences and what is, to be honest with you, I don't fully understand what socialism and capitalism is and what it could be. So it's something I want to explore a bit more this year and try and understand it.
Yeah, I guess from my side, I know it from like a very general perspective. But it's like with anything, I mean, with socialism, for example, there's so many people out there who are trying to push socialism. And then there's the other side of people who are trying to say, have you not seen what happened in history? Like, socialism doesn't work. But the people that are pushing it are pushing the pros of socialism without reflecting on what it actually,
negatives.
Yeah, what that sort of power and control can do to a person or people.
I've got a friend who he tells me that he's like a socialist and he wants socialism like to come in. Was having a bit of a discussion about it, not too much. We had a few pints at this point, so we didn't go like too far with it. But my main worry was, like, I tried to explain to him, was that I don't want the government to have that much power over me where they sort of dictate how I live my life. And I said to him, like, money gives me the freedom to be able to choose what I do.
Yeah.
In a sense, it gives me more freedom than if the government were to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who are feeding me.
Which is the capitalist side. But then capitalism's taken a nasty turn for the world.
Yeah, and this is his argument. He said he would rather the government control us than
the corporations.
And I was like, to be fair, I'd rather neither control me. I would rather control my own shit.
Yeah, be a free spirit. But that's what they're trying to push with the socialism side of it, is there is a way where it can be not central to a government running the show, but we probably can't imagine it happening because we're at a point of life right now where I don't think it can happen in this way, or I find it hard to see it happening in this way. But if it was fair and equal, and everyone had, I don't mean equal in the sense of money, but equal in the sense of what everyone's what everyone wants from life, like finding an equal ground in what people want to do with their lives, and not for like the 8 hour workday. I was listening to a video, right, and this is what sort of backed up what I'm thinking is I think we talked about it before, like back in the day. I don't know where it was we discovered this, but the hunter gatherer times they would only have to work 2 hour days. I think I was watching a video and it was like, why would ancient civilizations have like jewelry and fashion and shit like that? But it's because they only used to work 2 hour days, because that 2 hours of berry picking would be enough for the week, or 2 hours of going to get a fucking mammoth or something would last a full week for people to eat. And then they had time to develop like jewelry making, but that was more of an art than what it is today. Today it's more of a status problem. Back then it was an art, and they sort of well, from what we're gathering is they must have praised people for what they do in their off time. So if you've got a really complex piece of jewelry, that means you've in the time you're not working, you've spent a lot of time like trying to be creative and make something great. And I know
Yeah.
a piece of jewelry is not going to like evolve civilization much, but it's just like an idea of what being able to. But then, people, if you look at today, people work 8 hour days and add on to the hour commute on either side. Um, by the time you get home, you cook, you eat your food. On top of that, where you need 8 hours sleep, you've got no time to do anything out of your small cage that you've been put in by the capitalist society.
Yeah, that's what. So like that is another like side of the coin. Like, are we really free when everyone's a slave to money? Um, I don't know. Obviously, it's a topic that I can't envision a society with this many people being organized in a way ancient civilizations were organized, where they could do that 2 hour berry picking and then go off and have the free time to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I just can't picture it with 8 billion people.
And on top of that, like this is where I'm at because I'm neither nor. Like I'm not. I don't like the way capitalism's run, and I get scared of the way socialism's run. But what you've just said with that many people, chuck into that equation the internet and the fact that everyone's super connected, and then on top of that, there's people who have for generations been brought up in this capitalist environment. To flick everyone over to socialism is not going to be an easy transition. It won't work swiftly.
Yeah.
And then there's all the other things like the internet. There's so many different the world, the internet. It's all built on capitalism.
Yeah, like the internet is essentially now all it is a massive marketing tool.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, no, that's a good thing to look into because I think it's that genuinely it's important to look into these ways of living these because
I think to really identify the problems with society that we discuss and to fully understand them, we need to understand both concepts of potential systems that are out there, or the system that we're currently in and the potential system that is argued for. Because when I did economics at A level, they always obviously it's economics teacher, so he's going to be capitalist. There's always thought that we're in the best of two bad options. This is the best options out of two bad options. And if you look back in history, it kind of you can see why people have that perspective. If you look at the Soviet Union, for example, with their gulags. It's just the state getting too much control through communism. So they offer the population of the world, say they can have like what you just said. Then they can have a 2 hour working day, and all the other needs will be met. They sold it to them that way, but then the government just end up taking complete control and then become tyrannical, which is not what you want to see.
Well, yeah, and then the other side of it is, I know it's not government led because we're at another stage now. But if you want to look at, I don't think we've actually spoke about it for a while, to be fair, but look at the Great Reset, and then because I'm also just learning about socialism in more depth and capitalism, but I'm looking at the Great Reset and thinking, doesn't socialism just look like the Great Reset, but the Great Reset's run by the global elites?
I feel like the Great Reset is like socialism and capitalism merged into one. I think the problem is, I don't even think it's a socialism capitalism argument. I think it's a centralization argument. So this is something I've started getting into, like crypto and stuff. It's something I don't fully understand it, but I understand it enough, I think, to explain it. So Bitcoin, for example, is classed as a decentralized cryptocurrency, which means there's no central bank involved. There's no other commercial party that runs it. So there's no like XRP, for example, is owned by Ripple. So it's all central to Ripple. Bitcoin has been developed and just put out there, and it's got nobody who can print more Bitcoin. They can mine Bitcoin, but that takes computer power to do. Nobody can print Bitcoin. It's essentially like gold, for example, where there's nobody in charge of how much supply of gold there is in the world. It's just whatever gold's there is there. If there's more gold that's found, it adds to the supply. It can't just be printed. And
Off like someone's action.
Nobody. Yeah, it's not off anybody's action. The world's got a limited supply of gold, so that's how much gold we've got. Same with Bitcoin. There's a limited supply, and it can only be mined. The problem, I think, with the current system is it's being controlled by central banks who are printing money to make themselves and the elites richer. And when they're printing money, it's only making us poorer. So since 1970, when all the currencies came off the gold standard, that is when you probably say people have started feeling less and less hopeful about the future. Then 2008 comes in, they print money for fun. All of my adult life, I've always felt like something's not felt right about the economy, or something's not 100%. And then COVID comes in and they print even more money, and now we're in a situation we're in now where you feel like it's coming to an end.
Yeah.
But that's solely because of the actions of our government, central banks, and whoever runs the central banks.
Well, they're the global elites.
Yeah, the global elites.
I think Kanye West in some YouTube short I watched was explaining the fucked up thing about Hollywood. And he's saying, like, you've got all of these line of celebrities that are out there to promote spending, consumerism, all the shit that comes to everyday people, which they do a very good job at. You look at the likes of the Kardashians, and most people in Hollywood, rappers, music artists, they're all promoting some shit that you need to go and buy and have more gold chains and have more cars. So you've got like this row of people who are making the people below them spend loads of money. Their celebrities are getting ripped off anyway by their agents, like what Kanye's saying, albeit in a bit of a weird way. But they're getting ripped off by their agents. And so you've got that line of celebrities. On top of them, you've got the agents. On top of them, the money goes into the big brands, which are all connected. The big brands like all of the Hugo Boss and all that kind of stuff. All these big brands, and if you look at Volkswagen Group, like what that group actually came from, they own Lamborghini, they own Seat, they own a lot of them. The manufacturers, they came from global elites from a different generation. So, and a lot of the companies did, but then they all tied in with the banks. And then on top of the banks is um like
Families.
yeah. But
Elite
then
families.
what he was saying is on top of that, and this is a bit deep, there's what you don't hear about it, it's the um there's a detachment, but it's meant to be the churches, Christianity, churches and all that
Oh,
kind of stuff, right at the top.
I don't think they're right at the top. I think there's another thing above that.
Yeah. What
I
above
think
banks?
I think there's banks. Yeah, churches are quite high up, but I'm sure there's like
Well, I don't want
another.
to say Christianity. I want to say religion, not Christianity.
Yeah, I'm sure he said there's another.
Oh, you've seen this video?
I think I've seen it. Did he say they're at the top? Churches,
Well, he said religion.
religion. He said that's at the top.
Yeah.
Maybe I might have seen something else, but I thought I saw.
I think there's a
I
gap.
don't know. I got to remember it as well as you do. You obviously
I was thinking about
way
it.
better than I do.
I don't know how we got onto that. Me saying that. Oh, we're talking about the banks and how fucked up the money is, but we're all like being played in this big ass game though. The bubbles.
Yeah, that's it. It just feels like we're in a game and we're just being like pushed around at the moment.
NPCs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the question was interest to pursue in 23. I think that's a good one. Like, it'll give us like give you such an edge on stuff that you'll be able to connect more dots together when you hear about different things, knowing.
Yeah. And another interest is, and it's like from all this, it's a bit of a carry on from, well, it's a carry on from 2020. So it's Stoicism. From all the shit that we're learning about the world and how like, fucked up it is, I really think it's a good philosophy just to get in our heads to keep us sane. It's something in towards the end of 2021, I started getting in a bit of like a weird place where I didn't feel hopeful about the future, and I didn't feel like I think COVID was still around, and all this like the next vaccine was coming out and all this shit, and I was just like I had enough of it all, and I was listening to a lot of Russell Brand at the time, and I just felt like shit, like the world is not a fucking good place at the moment, and it's not looking like it's going to get any better. I feel like once I started looking at Stoicism, it sort of changed my perspective, and I don't worry as much about what the fuck's going on out there. As much as we talk about it, I don't worry about it. It is what it is at the end of the day. But obviously, I got you the Daily Stoic, which we're both doing. I'm just hoping, like, I think it's good, like a long-term thing that you just keep reading and studying because there's always new shit that you can find out about it.
Yeah, he's a good author as well, Ryan Holiday. I mean, I haven't read any of his shit yet, but I'll read this. And there's also that Ego is the Enemy. That was his book.
Yeah, and The Obstacle is the Way.
Yeah,
I think it's just a philosophy that sort of, in these times, I think it's a good thing to know to sort of don't be too concerned about what's going on out there because at the end of the day, you've got no control over it. And I think it just makes you a more resilient person, which is something I think we need in these times.
Yeah, it's about being selfish, but in a selfless way, if you know what I mean. Not being selfish and
it's about caring about yourself so you can care about
other people.
Like you becoming the best person you can be. So you're the best person you can be for the people around you.
Yeah. It's not being spiteful. It's not being selfish to gain anything.
Yeah.
Apart from to gain other people. But yeah, I think this Daily Stoic's a wicked thing to do. Definitely, as we've January 1st, we quit drinking.
I started journaling this year as well, just like personal journaling, and I put I did a bit of like a reflection piece on last year, and I said like my main focus was responsibility, and that's from me listening to Peterson because he says like get your shit in order, get responsible, be responsible. So I actually took that on board, and I think that helped me a lot last year. So I put my main focus for 2022 was responsibility, and then at the bottom I put I think this year's main focus is strength and resilience because just from what we've learned and what I said before, I feel like we're going to go through a bit of some hard times, whether it's this year or next. So
A
just
lot of
be
it
prepared.
is like, well, for me anyway, is finding. I love doing this and talking about the stuff we talk about. I enjoy doing it, but then there's like the other side of it, which comes with it, which is like the editing. Now we're finding guests, which we've just done before the call. Stuff like that we do. It sort of gives it more than just we're talking about something, and then we're actually trying to grow a community around it. Um, and whilst we're trying to do that and trying to grow something like for ourselves, on top of it, we're doing the Daily Stoic. We can tie in like making people, because Russell Brand kind of preaches it, but not in a direct way, because he preaches about being at peace within and being kind to others, but he goes really hard on the type of shit that's going on in the world. But I feel like we've got an opportunity where we can combine the two, or we can be aware of what's going on. We can grow a community, and we can also teach them how to live a better. And like, you need to know the stuff that's happening, but at the same time, you can't let it like make you insane. You need to bring yourself down as well.
Yeah, ground yourself back to what is going on in the present today. Um, and so that's like another Stoic teaching is what can you what can you control today and do that, and that will make the difference. If you can't control it today, then don't worry about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then that's what I was saying, like about having the actual. We've got the actual channel, but the channel's an actual project. Is like we've got something that we're trying to grow as well as talking about. Because it'll be easy just to go out to people and just preach this stuff, but we're doing it just telling people, "Oh, this is what's going on. Like it's fucked up," and then moving on. That's not actually doing anything about it. I think building a community to make people more resilient and also inform them of what's going on. I think I'm making sense. Um, will actually build better people because they'll be more aware, more resilient, stronger.
Yeah. Well, as much as people don't like Andrew Tate, and I don't agree with everything he says, but there's a lot of stuff he does say about being strong, being resilient. He talks about all the issues going on in the world, but he says he's quite a stoic thinker himself. Like, put away all the bullshit, like his Bugatti and all this crap. He thinks like you need to be the best version of yourself. You need to be strong. You need to like go to the gym, look after yourself. Like, what can you do today? You can earn money, so go and earn money because that's what you need in today's life to make you even stronger. So like, he preaches these things, which are stoic teachings at the end of the day. But I think everybody out there should be taking on board some advice like that. It doesn't have to come from Andrew Tate; it can come from
I
anybody.
think what the problem is with Andrew Tate and what the problem is with what Jordan Peterson had as well is these guys have identified a problem with society. In particularly, the problem is with men. They've
Yeah,
identified that their niche, their target audience is men. So what's
yeah,
happening is they're drilling down this message to and men and women. Like women are hearing it and they're thinking, what the fuck? Why are you saying that about? Like we should be included, sort of thing. So they're hating on these people because the same thing happened with Jordan Peterson, and it still happens today. And then you still get the men that fighting for women's rights and so on, they're not liking these people purely for the fact that they're speaking out to help only men. But
Yeah.
you don't fucking like get pissed off with a company that sells a certain like makeup, for example. They sell them just to women. We don't get pissed off like where the fuck's the shit for the men? Like, well, I don't use that. Why are you not selling me something else? All these people are is like they're basically, well, not a business, but they're just got an audience out there and they've got their target audience and they're trying to grow on their platforms. So they're reaching out to their target audience so they get more of their target audience to watch them, just like going to buy a product. So that's what's happened with them is because they're on a platform where everyone can hear about them, everyone thinks, oh, they're trying to push all this shit down my neck. But if no one actually stops and thinks about what they're actually doing, what they're actually saying.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with either of them, don't fucking listen to them.
Nobody listens to him.
That's the thing.
Like, I remember when I spoke to you and remember when we was gonna do the blogs.
Yeah.
I was gonna do one on. This was when I first sort of came across Andrew Tate, and I thought when I initially started listening to him, I thought, oh, this guy he's saying like some of the right things, but he could be quite dangerous to like young minds who sort of take everything he says as gospel. So I was doing like loads of listening to Andrew Tate and loads of like research on him before I wrote anything because I didn't want to go in like blind and write something that I didn't mean. And I listened to the more and more I listened to him, I was like, fuck, he's like, what he's saying actually fucking makes sense. There's some things, it's not that I don't agree with what he's saying. I think sometimes he goes about it a bit too, he does it to like start fucking like to get his name out there. So
generate like, hype, yeah.
Yeah, very like harsh and
he's marketing himself in a crazy way,
yeah. Which is his way of fucking expressing it. And hats off to him, he's done a fucking sick job. But well, yeah, the more and more I was listening to him, the more I was thinking, actually, this guy is talking a lot of sense, and I think a lot of young men actually need to listen to him because he's speaking from an angle where I've never been spoken to like as a young man or a young adult going into like going to be 30 in a couple of years. I've never like been spoken to or had advice along those lines or been expressed in that way, which for me, like, I'm quite level-headed, so like I'll take some of it as like I'll take that on board, some of it I'll leave because it is like there's things I know I agree with and there's things like I may not agree with, but there are like what I'm trying to say here, like I think it's just he articulates himself a bit too harshly about certain topics.
He's not as educated in that domain.
Whereas if you listen to people like, I think there's better people young people could listen to, but they're not as glamorous as him. So like a Jordan Peterson, for example, I would probably recommend somebody to listen to Jordan Peterson over Andrew Tate. But again, with Jordan Peterson, don't take everything he says as gospel in it. Like, listen to him, take the bits you want to take on board, and then disregard the other bits. There might be a day where you come across him again and listen to those other bits and think, oh shit, that is something I actually agree with. But you can't just listen to somebody and I think the point I'm trying to make. You can't just listen to somebody and think he's Jesus and listen to every word he says because nobody is like that. Like, you have to just take bits.
Yeah, because even I'm quite a big fan of Jordan Peterson, but it took me a few goes to actually. Because I said when I read his book the first time, like I didn't take hardly any of it in. I found out now I did take some of it in, quite a bit of it in. But I don't know if it was like subconsciously or whatnot. But when I read it, I was like, I'm not fucking ready for this shit. Like, it's too much. Oh, it's too crazy, it's too out there and all that kind of shit. But reading his books now and listening to him now, I've developed myself over, I don't know how many years ago it was. I read it a good couple of years ago. But I've developed myself up to a stage now where I can listen to him and understand. If I don't agree with it, I don't agree with it, but I can understand what he's saying. And
Yeah,
that's the problem: is people don't understand. They're listening, but they're not understanding. They're listening, but they're not listening, and that's a big problem with our society at the moment. Anyway,
they're
no.
listening, and if you say something they don't like, they're getting irate and then disregarding everything else he's saying because he said one thing. So say, I know he talks a lot about these days. Talks a lot about climate change, for example. He'll say something that somebody feels really strongly about climate change, and it'll offend them. And then everything else he said, everything else that's good, goes out the window because he said there's one thing about climate change. And then every time he mentions Jordan Peterson to that person, they'll be like, "Oh, but he said this about climate change, so you got to disregard everything he said." I think that's wrong. He's got an opinion on climate change. He's said all this good stuff about personal development, especially for young males,
That's
which
the thing. What you said, he's not Jesus. It's like I know from being a human and having a channel of what we're doing, what we're 19 episodes in. I've said things like 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, which I've changed my opinion on now. But
yeah,
like people say things that they're thinking at the time, and yeah, just because they've got the camera on them, it's not. They're not like Hollywood stars where they're PR trained. These people are like just fucking maverick thinkers, where they're going above and beyond and trying to research and figure stuff out, and all they're doing is relaying their research back to us. Um, and they're gonna say what day are we on today? Like 4th of Jan 2023. If you ask him a question today, and I'm asking that exact same question the same day, but next year, I bet you he has a different answer. It might not be totally different, or it might be slightly different. Either or, he's going to have a different answer because
yeah,
he's got
because
a different outlook on it.
he and Andrew Tate are people who have a progressive, like they want to progress themselves, so they're constantly like thinking about new ideas and trying to better their ways of thinking.
Piece together the puzzle of their own mind.
Yeah, because everyone's going through struggle, and no matter if you're a billionaire or you've not got a penny to your name, you're going through some level of struggle personally. Um, like my struggles might be different to your struggles, but it doesn't make my struggles any harder than your struggles. Like they're both, it's the same shit and it's relative. And I feel like people need to be more aware of how other people, what other shit people are going through. No matter who they are, no matter what, like people are going through shit, and everyone's trying to deal with their own shit and make themselves better.
Yeah. And what you said then about like everyone's going through different struggles, so you can't judge someone on their struggles is emotionally, people have different thresholds of like pain. So for example, right, you get people who have been what's the word, like molly cuddled or something.
Yeah, mollycoddle. Yeah, that, I know what you're saying.
When they've been just
Model
protected since I think Peterson talks about it in his book.
wrapped in cotton wool.
Yeah, for many years, by their parents, through their childhood, through even through their teens and through their 20s. And then one day comes where something, because obviously by that age your parents are getting older, there becomes a day when you have to start taking some fucking responsibility.
Yeah,
And when something's, so what I'm saying about people having different pain thresholds is that person at say they're 30, 35 years old, something goes wrong and they have to be the ones who are at that time responsible to fix it. That could literally break that person. But then you might have someone else who a few other people, like different types of parents, might have chucked them out early and said, "Go on, fucking walk to school yourself," or they might have been like slightly more lenient with them, still give them good discipline and like control them just for the discipline purposes, because there's a balance in it. There's a yin and yang of anything, and I think by bringing up a kid, you need to find that balance. But then they will go through the hardships of like getting spat at on the way to school by someone. But this person who's been cotton wooled wouldn't have had any of that experience. So as soon as something small drops in their life, that will break them. But then this other person that's been chucked out at an early age, they're just going to see that happen and think, so fucking what?
yeah,
But then imagine if something severe happened to that person who's been wrapped in cotton wool. Like they're going to literally just, I don't know. But the person who's been chucked out, something severe happens to them, they might be able to face it a little bit better. And it comes down to resilience
Yeah.
and being able to just fucking take a bullet, like if and keep walking if you need to.
Yeah. 100%. And honestly, I think that is like a big fact. That is probably, I was going to say, like, one of my questions is what is one, what have you learned from 2022? And before 2022, I never really thought much about strength and resilience. Um, Obviously, come across Andrew Tate. He talks a lot about strength and resilience. Now, listen to David Goggins' podcast with Joe Rogan, and everything that David Goggins was saying in that podcast, because I listened to his previous one, and it didn't 100% resonate with me. But everything he was saying in that podcast was like, shit, like, this guy is the definition of strength and resilience. The, the pain barrier is here, and he's pain barriers like fucking
Yeah, like what
on the
we were
moon.
saying then. He's if something fucked up happens in his life, he's just going to look at it.
Yeah.
Probably like he's that resilient. But
He did have a fucked up childhood.
I want to say like about 2022 and resilience and stuff is like, yeah, you can listen to all these people that will talk about resilience, which it is good, and read about resilience and everything. And I think this is where the stoicism, but daily stoics going to help us is we're going to like now learn how to reflect on our own life. Right, one thing I've noticed is we're doing this and we're finding out some deep dark truths about the world, online and offline. But there's a sense of resilience in like, we're hearing about things which literally people are so afraid of knowing about that they just deny it. That's not happening. That's not happening. Because if they ever accepted that as truth, that would absolutely, they're not resilient enough to accept.
Yeah.
That would break them. But if you want to look at us, like there's times when, knowing what we know, I'll go out and see something happen in the world. Maybe you're on a night out and you spill your drink and someone gets annoyed at you, or you see someone spill the drink and someone gets annoyed at them, and you just sat there watching it and you're thinking, there's all this shit going on in the world, and you're trying to have a fight. You're trying to like hurt someone else because they accidentally spilled a drink on you.
Yeah.
That to me, that's another aspect of resilience. Is like you need to be resilient in your mind to approach certain situations and think, you know what, like the world's too big for this kind of shit. Like there's a million things going on, and you're getting upset because someone's just dropped a drink on you. Like,
And this is sort of why, like, I stepped away from the culture war thing a little bit. I don't really like talking about it too much now because I just think, what's the point? Like, at the end of the day, it's just fucking people arguing about what someone else believes over what someone else believes. It's just fucking
yeah,
bullshit at the end of the day.
I think that's a bit different in the terms that I get what you mean on like a ground level, but on like well, I suppose we're looking at it from a bigger level anyway now. Where like what
I think
why
even from a bigger level, honestly, I think to our 39 subscribers, just fuck the culture war. Like, everybody who is not on that level of celebrities, you know what you was describing before. Anybody who's below that level, we all need to just fucking get together and
yeah, the left and
be
right
together.
no longer exists.
Yeah. Like, fuck whatever you believe in. You might believe this, you might believe that. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the people at the top don't give a shit. All they care about is like fucking making themselves wealthier,
I think that's
making
where
themselves more powerful.
that's where change can, and I think it is becoming a saying. I guess I'm hearing it a bit more that there is no left, there's no right, there's us and them.
Yeah.
So people need to get to grips with that, and it's like looking at it from the example of someone spills a drink on someone, so the other guy reacts and starts fighting. That's the same thing that's happening between the left and the right. The right are saying something, or the left saying something, and then the right are kicking off, and the left kicking off. But if you strip back what's like, if we saw someone drop a drink and then they get agitated and start fighting, we're at a point now where we can look at it and think, well, why has that happened? Okay, because alcohol's shit. They're pissed. Alcohol is shit. like this is their good time. This is their highlight, the pinnacle times of their life are going out and having a drink, and that guy's ruined it by dropping a drink on him. Why is that there? And then you strip it back even further. Well, why is that like the pinnacle of his life? And it's because society's so fucked up. So it's like you can strip back these situations and actually look at it from like a much more holistic view and actually get to understanding why. And it's the same thing with like the battle between the left and the right. Like, why is there a battle? It's not because we down here want to be arguing with each other. It's because everyone's been manipulated to argue like this.
Yeah, that's it. And you can see it in so many different ways, left and right, male versus female. Like, it's getting bad in the sense where everyone's just fucking arguing with each other. And then once this male versus female agenda like takes off, which is already sort of doing, it's gonna start breaking up fucking families, the family home, because men and women don't get on with each other because they've got different views on life. And then all that happens is the us get weaker and the them get stronger because we're even more diverse than before.
Yeah, and they're not like they're up the people up there. They're not diversifying. Like there's nothing, no bombshells being dropped on them. There's no, and this is the other thing. Like there's no Andrew Tate coming out and like showing them lot like how to live. But one thing that I can't get my head around with Andrew Tate is the amount of publicity he's got. But when you look at, and I don't know who said it, but someone said it. Maybe Joe Rogan said it. But if you look at Jeffrey Epstein and the shit that went down there, no one fucking kicked up a fuss.
Yeah, it's like there's another thing as well. You know, Cardi B. She admitted to drugging men, taking them to a hotel, and stealing the money. And have you heard about
that? No. I've heard about like her being a dodgy woman, but I've not.
Has she been like, if a guy did that to a woman, drugged a woman and took her to a hotel, you'd be arrested straight away.
Yeah. It'd be carnage.
But because Cardi B's doing it, she's still celebrated in like this modern feminism and female empowerment. And that's when you can look at feminism and think the movement's gone too far now. Like, it was for a good cause at the beginning, but now like you're starting to like push it where you sort of want privileges for women, not equality.
Yeah, it's it's sort of dragging the men down to get on top of the men. So it's not by becoming equal; it's dragging one down so you can get on top of them.
Yeah. But then at the end of the day, the people in charge are still the people in charge. It doesn't matter if fucking women or men are above each other or not. But what Andrew Tate is trying to say is that if men are stronger, then there's less chance of tyranny coming because the men will get up and fight.
Yeah, but the men are getting ridiculously weak. Hey, we say like about Cardi B, but aren't the elites drugging us and taking our money?
What's that?
The elites are drugging us and taking our money.
Exactly.
Right,
and that Epstein stuff as well, like what you're saying is that's just fucked up, man.
It's like just gone. And I watched the documentary.
How's that book not even been released yet of his clients?
But no one even gives a fuck. I imagine if they held some information on Andrew Tate, because he's going through all this scandal and stuff now. But imagine they had some information and they held it away from everyone. Imagine, right? They had some documents and on Andrew Tate, but they said, "Oh, we're not releasing it." There would be carnage.
Yeah.
But with Jeffrey Epstein, because it's dragging too many elites into it, they've just got it all off the media. the fucking Netflix documentary is so fucking shit. Like it doesn't explain
The Epstein
anything.
one or the Ghislaine one?
No, I've not seen the Ghislaine one. I watched the Jeffrey one again because I was
Oh,
going to watch. I
I
watched the
watched
Jeffrey
it
one when it first came
last
out,
year.
and then I wanted to watch it again before I watched the Ghislaine one.
It just basically explains, like, isn't going to about the elites or anything. It just explains what he did, how he did it.
Yeah, but like
That's
with
it.
minimal. Our first face value when you watch it, you think, "Oh my god, that's crazy, that's crazy." But they've done it in such a sneaky way where you watch it and think, "Fucking hell, that's bad," and then move on to something else. It's the same thing that like with well, I would say that what's his name, Dharma. What's his first name?
Dharma.
That is it. Jeffrey Dahmer as well.
I think
Serial
so.
killer.
Oh, yeah.
Even that, like that was some fucked up shit. But that just sort of more people were talking about that, but that doesn't affect like millions and millions of people. This Epstein case affects fucking everyone. But the Netflix documentary just on face value, like it's a lot of detail, and you think, oh my god, it's crazy. But when you actually watch it and you're trying to like figure out, I guess it's because I know a lot more information now than when I first watched it. But watching this, I'm just like, Netflix have just put this out. It makes sense just so people can be like, oh my god, that was bad. What else is
Yeah,
on?
because he got caught and it would have leaked anyway.
Yeah,
And then more like the information you're reading now, more people would have read it because all this stuff's leaking, and there probably would have been more of an uproar because Netflix released a documentary. Sort of, the average Joe watched it and thought, "All right, it stops there." And
yeah. They
then
don't
the
need
rest
to
of
read
it,
any more information now because I
yeah,
watched the fucking
watch documentary.
documentary. Like I'm sorted. Manipulation at its finest.
But even like the Balenciaga thing, like, what the fuck?
That's just
Nothing's
gone.
happened.
No, that's just completely gone. Everyone's back to buying Kim Kardashian's Skims or whatever they're called. Skins.
I don't know what that is.
She's got a
Skin.
clothing brand. I think it's called Skims or Skins.
Oh,
Like a clothing brand that she's got.
with Balenciaga.
No, just her own. But everyone was like boycott Kim Kardashian for it because she didn't cancel her thing. But it's old news now, isn't it? Now the big news is Andrew Tate's been arrested. Let's divert everyone back. That's what I mean. Like Andrew Tate, he's so big, but why is he gaining so much attention and nothing else does? It's like what? He's not actually that much of a threat, really. Like he's only saying stuff that more people are becoming aware of. Do you not think it's funny that he's come out now and grown in popularity at the same time? What was it Josh was saying on the thing? Like, once everyone gets used to something, it becomes a new norm. So it's just we're meeting that next thing. Oh, we're in the matrix. This is going on. That's going on. Let's all get used to it, and then yeah, there's fuck all anyone can do now because that's just what happens. That's just what's going on. That's what it seems like we're going through at the moment. Is that stage of this is all happening. Like just feed it and feed it and feed it and flick us up, like get us well embedded into the Great Reset, and then boom, they're done. Everything's done.
All right, I was listening to something today, and it was talking about Tupac and Biggie, and this guy was saying that he spoke to Tupac 3 days before he died, and he was telling him that him and Biggie. He said, first of all, me and Biggie don't have any beef. That's all just made up, like shit. And he goes, me and Biggie want to start like owning our own music and distributing our own music. And the guy said to him, you know, you can't do that. Like, there's this person, that person, this person, like above you. And he goes, yeah. He goes, don't worry. He goes, I'm going to get like loads of young hip hop artists and rappers to do it as well. And they're just going to own their own music and distribute it themselves. And we're going to set up like that and grow it. And then he died 3 days later. And
The same
when
thing
you look at,
with Michael Jackson.
yeah, and Kanye West. Well, Kanye West's not dead yet, but they brand him as crazy.
Fucking.
I was listening to something else to Kanye West, and he was talking about sacrifice, and he goes, to get to a certain level, you have to sacrifice.
A person. A human.
Yeah. So
He
apparently,
sacrificed his mum.
he sacrificed his mum. He didn't say this though. I don't know. So maybe someone's talking about it. So once you've like got to a certain point and you've sacrificed, then if you try and go against what the agenda is, because they've built your name up so high, you've got a lot of influence at that point. They'll just get rid of you after that if you try and go against the agenda. Obviously, that's very conspiracy led. So I've been going down a bit of a rabbit hole. As we're talking about conspiracies, I've been going down a bit of a rabbit hole. And there's this science facility in Geneva, so Switzerland, called Cern, spelled CERN. Basically, what they're doing is they're smashing, I think it's like atoms or something, or electrons together to try and create a black hole. I know you might have heard about it in the past.
Yeah.
Have you heard about it?
I've heard about something like this. I've not heard about CERN before.
Yeah, because I remember in 2009, I was in the car with Mum, and it came on the radio that they're going to turn this machine on, and it could like cause a massive black hole. I was like, what the fuck? But it turned on, and obviously nothing happened. But apparently, there's a conspiracy. What they're trying to do is open a portal to another dimension. And there's people like saying that, do you know, have you heard of the Mandela effect? So the Mandela effect's like, basically, so people thought Nelson Mandela died in prison, but
yeah,
apparently he didn't. But that's what people thought like back in the day.
Oh, it's yeah, I know this. It's like when it's basically like manipulation, isn't it, to your mind?
Yeah, well, it's like what psychologists say it is. It's like you just perceive something as what it was, and you thought you was that set on thinking it was that, but it's not. But it's weird because a lot of people think the same things. So like, there's one with a Ford badge as like a circle on it, like not circle, like a loop. But people are saying that never used to be there. And the more I've looked into the Mandela effect, there's one guy who said he used to work for Chevrolet, and he goes, there was an E in it after one of the letters. But he goes, I remember because I used to have to type it out every single day, like 20, 30 times. But now, he goes, it definitely used to have an E there. And he goes, no, he's not got an E there. So what they're saying is this thing's like, and Stephen Hawking apparently warned about doing this because it could push us into another dimension, the Earth. What they're saying is like, because he's turned his finger on it, it's pushing us through parallel universes. So like things are changing on the Earth, and we're not fully realizing it.
Right. Fucking hell.
It's weird, isn't it?
That's well fucking far that.
The further and further I went down this rabbit hole, I was like, fucking hell.
So is that related to CERN?
Yeah, that's CERN's the facility that I've turned his finger on. And then another thing with CERN, they've got a statue of Shiva outside the god, the destroyer god, Hindu destroyer god.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Destroyer of universes.
This is outside CERN?
Yeah. On the right outside the main building.
That makes no sense why that's there.
They said it got gifted to him from India. But still, why did they gift them that? And then there's a video of them, they came out and said it's a hoax, but there's people doing like this weird ritual in front of it.
Yes. Oh shit,
Yeah.
now that's a scary photo. Okay, now.
They said it's a hoax, but
Could have been random people going there.
you can't get into the premises without a card though, key card.
Look how fucked up that was even at night time.
Yeah, the statue looks scary, innit? With the shadow there in the back.
That's just a photo of it at night, yeah. Do you know why you're saying all this shit? Because I don't know about it. You're saying all this shit that they do there. Even from the beginning, you said the black hole. Then you went on the Mandela effect. And then you went, and then the achievement got outside. But it leaps around, doesn't it? So like we've talked, I don't know if we've talked on the podcast like about Hinduism. I think we did it after a podcast. We went down the rabbit hole. But it's funny how it loops around.
Weird, isn't it?
That's bare weird.
And you can read up. Stephen Hawking warned about turning this thing on.
I'm gonna look into this because it's weird. Yeah, the Cern is the European Organization for Nuclear Research, an intergovernmental organization that operates the largest particle physics laboratory in the world in Geneva.
Do you know how I came across it? Actually, there was a short, and it mentioned this facility called Cern, but it said it was talking like about something to do with Satan's throne, and it said that Satan's throne is located in the Bible. It says it's located in this region, and it said this region is Switzerland, Geneva. And it goes, now there's a science facility there where they're trying to open dimensions to the underworld.
What the fuck? Is that some Stranger Things shit?
Yeah, no. So that's what I thought. What the fuck? This sounds like Stranger Things. And I started looking into Cern, and I came across all this other shit.
I wonder if like
Obviously, they're all theories. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
yeah, but one thing that's not a theory is the god outside the thing.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's like what makes it believable. Like, but then they know like that would just cause questions.
But sometimes they say like they do things in plain sight.
Yeah, that's true. Like they have to.
Yeah.
You know, at the bottom of the statue.
Yeah. What the fuck is that?
She's
Stepping on a kid. Oh, I think he. Oh, that's something else.
It's a different god.
You know, Christmas.
Yeah.
It was a pagan religion of sun or something. Oh no, pagan festival of sun. And you used to have to sacrifice children on that day.
Is it? I knew it was pagan. There was that thing. I think the book that we're going to read talks about Christmas. Do you know that sacred mushroom in the cross? I think it's that.
Yeah.
Right, I don't know what I'm getting at with this, right? But a Christmas tree, like the actual tree of the Christmas, that tree, this fucking, I don't know what it's called, like a pine tree or some shit. Yeah, a fir tree.
Yeah.
They drop things off which
turn into those mushrooms.
Turn into these type of mushrooms. But
Christmas colours as well, red.
Yeah, so they're the colour of Santa and shit, and then if you like, they're the colour of presents under the tree.
And you put presents under the tree. So I was listening to a video about Christmas, and it was saying like people don't realise it, but it's a ritual what you're doing. Every year you're getting the Christmas tree out.
Yeah.
You're decorating it and you're putting your presents underneath it.
Yeah,
but people look at it as like a tradition, but it's actually a ritual.
Like this, like they're the presents under the tree, basically.
Yeah.
And then the mushroom, and then the baubles and shit that you put on it is like all related to the mushrooms. These aren't like real photos, but so yeah, because I said to Kate like this year before I researched it after because I was confused on why do you bring a tree inside like for Christmas? I was just confused on why the tree comes inside. Because she was like, why when we got a tree, do we going to get a real one or a fake one? And then I was like, well, why is there a tree anyway, actually? Like, why is there such a big thing to go get a Christmas tree? But yeah, that's why it's a pagan ritual. That's why I know it's a pagan ritual. But it's because they used to eat the shrooms from one of these trees as part of that ritual. Or give each other the shrooms or whatever.
Okay. And that's how the presents under the tree.
Yeah, because that's their representations
They're
of.
symbolizing it by doing what we're doing.
Yeah. But I think that book covers all this type of shit.
Mm. Probably will.
I hope it does. That same thing fucked
It's
me up.
weird, like when you start looking at religion, and then you look at like ancient practices, how much it links up with like normal religion and how ingrained it all is.
Yeah, because what we do today is just from ancient anyway.
Yeah,
It's just been evolved over time and time and time, and then slightly amended. Um, like Halloween is a day of remembering the dead, so you dress up as like dead people, in it basically.
yeah. Halloween's a pagan festival, isn't it?
Yeah, but like, what is paganism though? It's like the level. It's like a not a non-believer. It's a
It's a different kind. It's a believer of more than one god, I think.
Is it not the believer in what happened before religions came?
Before, like the
Before they branched?
book religions branched off away from like paganism, but
Yeah,
then paganism, Hinduism,
Hinduism is the paganism.
that's pagan religion.
Yeah, well, that is what paganism is. Hinduism.
Yeah, pretty much.
So then, if you're
Hinduism is just an ancient religion, which that's where paganism comes from, and that's where it is. That's where it probably originates. I'd say. It's weird that like obviously started in India, but then like you've got the Mayans who worshipped pagan gods, and is it Sumerians?
I don't know. I know the Mayans did.
So this word must have spread somehow to some people who apparently never spoke to each other or never or weren't in contact with each other at all. This is what Graham Hancock's trying to find out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but he won't let him.
I was confused why his documentary even got allowed on Netflix. To be honest, got bare hate for it.
Don't know why.
Well, he was like Dylan was saying there's a civilization.
People are saying it's dangerous what he's saying.
I don't get why people aren't allowing
How's it
people
dangerous? I don't understand what's dangerous about what he's saying.
because it means like everything we've been told has been a cover up for something, but it's like what? I don't know why it's been allowed on Netflix.
What if it's not even a cover up? What if they just got it wrong?
Yeah, that's easily done. You like someone was saying, think about history, right? We hear about a sliver of it and think, fucking hell, that's really bad, or fucking hell, that was really good what they used to do. That's really bad what they used to do. But we're only told like not even a sliver, less than a sliver. It's like we're told a mini, it's like a sentence. Imagine like something that spans over hundreds of years. We only really know whatever can fit in a book about it, and that shit's like spanned over hundreds of years. So we're not really taking into account the looking into the day where we live today and like looking at the complexities around how we live. We're not really we don't no one weighs up the complexities from back in the day. They just look at, oh my god, this was left on some paper and that's what's happened. Or like loads of papers and just trying to figure it out. But you're not looking at the complexities that wouldn't have been on paper and trying to figure it out. Like we've only really started using paper like scriptures and writing things down over the last couple of 100 years. So how are we gonna? Well, there's no way of figuring anything out.
Yeah, we can't unless people actually put the time and resource into researching the lands and stuff to see what happened. But it's all speculation still.
Then they say like there's time travelers from ancient Egyptian times and before
What, time travel here?
that can come to the future. And then there's people. There's even ones that have come back, like just YouTube, like time travelers who come back. I don't know. It's probably bullshit. But if we're on conspiracies, there's like time travelers that have come back and they're stuck here and they can't get back because there was a time. It's I don't know, right? But there was like a time machine made back in the day, and there's a time machine in the future. So these guys get stuck in an area where there's no time machines knocking about.
All right.
Or I don't think they're the same machine as such as much as like casting or whatever.
Well, no, I think Stephen Hawking said that you can time travel, but you can only time travel into the future.
I thought did he not say you can only time travel from when there's a time machine made?
So, no, I think he said if you go around the world like on a train really, really fast and then get off, you'll still be young inside, but then the rest of the world would have moved on. I think that's what his theory was.
But like on Interstellar.
So it does on Installer.
Have you not seen Interstellar? Jesus, you're movie thing. So,
But apparently, if you go to space and you're traveling through space and it's like 20 years in space, it's like 100 years on Earth.
yeah, so on Interstellar, should I just tell you the premise of
So
this
he does
plot?
on Interstellar in space.
Yeah, so I'll tell you just as part, not ruin the whole thing. But they go to a planet and they leave a guy in the spaceship to, I don't know, make sure I don't get robbed or something. And then they come back. They've only been there for like 30 minutes. And then the guy's like bare old when they get back, proper old. But they thought they've only been there 30 minutes. They didn't take into account the time.
Yeah. So time's different on another planet.
So yeah, they've been there for 30 minutes. They took like another spaceship off to the planet, came back, and then he's like used all of the food reserves and everything.
All right, fucking hell.
He's like, I just didn't think anyone was coming back. Yeah. Hey, watch that Interstellar as well. It's about dimensions.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think I like that.
Yeah, it's well good. It's a bit deep.
Yeah, I'll watch it. It's good. Matt, not Matt. What's his name?
Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I put for my areas of interest for 2023. Sounds a bit shit now, but after what we spoke to. But I want to write more, read more diverse, and speak to more people.
Yeah.
More diverse. I want more diverse thinking in my life. Not diverse as in the diverse that's been.
Yeah, just people who have different opinions and different views.
Yeah, like we've talked about theories on religion and stuff in the past. I would like to hear other people's theories, no matter how like crazy they are. I just want to talk to people about all sorts of stuff.
Not diverse as in more LGBTQ people on the show.
I'd like to get them on as well. It's like I watched the interview with Trigonometry. They interviewed that guy that spent £250,000 or whatever to make himself look Korean.
Alright, what the fuck?
But they interviewed him and he said like it's fucked up, like he had a mental condition which made him do that. So he's like, people need to understand it's a mental problem.
Alright, you sound like a good guy to get on the channel.
Yeah, he's massive though. I don't know, I forgot what his name was.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's him trying to look Korean. They're showing like the BTS star Jimin. That's the BTS.
Oh, that guy looks well real. Alright, okay, yeah, that makes sense then. Jimin super fan.
This person does not look Korean.
That's probably a better one. Before, after, and then the guy trying to look like the girl.
Yeah. What the hell? Look at the before and after. That's scary, that.
That's a good one. Not Korean, but
Yeah.
before and after.
No, but that's him trying to look Korean there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good to say that he looks Korean, but it's a good before and after.
I don't think he does look Korean.
He looks more Korean after just straight after the surgery. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, and I want to learn more about history in. Like I was saying about, like, we don't know much really about history, but what we do know, I want to try and learn it. And I think learning history will make you see things in a different light as well.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think history's got a lot to teach us. Yeah, we'll call it that.
Right. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Have a good 2023. See you next time.
See you later.